Jeff and excuse me, and Linda, Dr. Logsdon or Director Logsdon just running a little bit behind, and we just want to wait on him before we start.
Linda can wait.
You there, Linda? Mayor Evans tonight.
No, she's mayor. That's the hat she's wearing today.
We can start the meeting and go through A through D and then pause until Dr. Logsdon gets here. We got everything.
Okay, ready? You said it'd be about 10 minutes later. I'm looking over there. Did anybody switch stuff up? I used to know they did. She wasn't in his.
I know.
The treasurer should be next to the secretary and the president and the vice president, but it's okay.
May change person, that we don't need person.
It's fun.
No.
It's fun.
Everybody, next time I'll just leave I'll leave the name page out here. For the musical chair. You're supposed to say like we did.
Oh, my, come on.
Hey, Andrea, it's Linda, and I can hear the sound very nicely, so thank you for that improvement.
Okay.
Just for you, Linda.
Make sure all this is muted. Just 1 second, Carol.
I'm sorry.
Let me just mute some things here. I have some Facebook stuff going. We're ready whenever you are.
The great thing is that I'm the one.
All right.
Okay. Shall we call to order? Roll call.
It is 5:31 p.m. Director PerezGil. Here. Director Shorr.
Here.
Director Lara. Here. Director Logsdon is running a little behind. Secretary Barraza. Here. Vice President Rodriguez.
Here.
And President Rogers.
Here. Please, yeah, let's begin. Ready to begin?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the States of God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any public comment on this?
I don't believe so, Linda, unless you have any public comments. She's the only member of the public with us. No public comments at this time.
Hearing none. Shall we pause for Director Logsdon? Can she give us?
I'm going to mute you and I'll get
Thanks a lot. No one told me it was gonna be dangerous.
We don't really, we haven't really had any
No,
bad situations.
no, yeah, and I find that if you're independent, somebody a bag of lunch, with a bottle of water, they're pretty happy.
Well, we did really good incentives this year. We did
Yeah.
full backpacks and we did decent Palm Springs. We did straight provided extra stuff. So I mean, the backpacks today were filled.
That's all those, yeah.
Wow,
Beans, and gloves, and toiletries, and
wow,
juices and snacks.
very cool.
We provided with 200 pairs of socks.
Yeah.
And 100 hygiene kits, toothbrush.
They had all that stuff in the bags this morning when we got there. Wow. So they had already,
We're silver money for that one.
Yeah. They're April enrollment.
you know, the city comes from, it's like the easiest city to work with. They just like, they just. Cause I was like the county lead and like, another place, the county lead had to like coordinate, you know. It's like,
Yeah. What am I gonna do with him? Just toss it or? Oh.
Well, I guess, don't you have to adjourn? Yeah, when you're waiting like this, do we need to adjourn the meeting or is it just like a break, I guess?
It's just a break. If you adjourn, that means you have to,
I put it in my.
Can you hear?
yeah, it's like the board supervisor, they break for like lunch or restaurant. That's correct. You do that.
Yeah, normally we are basically.
Well, that's what I asked them.
Even in only big customer.
And the lab EP.
Oh, you are. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's bigger, yeah, it's a bigger, 5, down the street and start. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, or normally no, I like twice.
Same part, thank you.
Have you never been to it today?
I'm literally just.
I also know the neighborhood. Yeah, it's, you know, on the corner there, it's all owned by cruise line, so it's all. I'll see.
What do you have, 28? No.
Very nice.
If you turn this, let's turn your occupied. Is it the one you go try to? But we also have a recording too. No, because you just live off me.
You watch Netflix or something?
No. Is it warm? Are you okay?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Must be Jeff. So I guess, Jeff, we can't talk about matters obviously that aren't on the agenda.
That's correct.
Okay.
Unless it's talking about the weather.
Yes.
Actually, more on Riverside than it was in Coachella Valley today.
Yeah,
Really?
Mhm.
it's been that way like the last few days.
As fires.
What is it?
Well, it's just the fact that we're gonna get
Yeah,
seen.
the new one that started today.
Oh, is it? Where's that?
It's
Late.
Ice Egg or something like that.
Not too far from.
But it grew, yeah, it grew like 5,000 acres in like 2 hours.
I think it's arson.
Was that near the other ones?
No, it's Northern County,
Oh,
but luckily it's more rural. Fifties.
Heat off last night from home. 64 degrees inside.
agriculture, like this weather better than the warmer weather that we've had.
We need to have a cold winter in order for us to have good crops.
It's 9,000 acres now.
Yeah.
2,000 people have been evacuated.
That's a lot.
That's the thing. See?
Okay, Dan is parking. He's.
Soon as all stand up and say, we're done.
That would be good.
That's.
Village people, March 8th at Fantasy Springs.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Is it the original?
It looks like it. There's no, it's not the original.
Oh, it's just kind of bad.
Because even the ones that did the inauguration, it's not the original.
No, they just keep,
Yeah.
yeah.
The original members would
They're
have.
like 1972 they were.
Yeah.
Or like the 80s now.
Oh,
I bet they sell out though.
yeah. I've been to a couple of those, the rock yards and they're pretty,
Like the cover band
yeah,
ones.
the cover band ones, they're pretty good. Some, let's see there. Oh, it was, the Red Hot Cholo Peppers. They were dressed like cholos, it was funny.
The concerts in the park in town are good too. They do cover bands. The Tina Turner one, Journey. They were really good.
Yeah, was interesting, a friend of mine is an ASL interpreter and he goes to these concerts.
Oh, and really?
He gets in free, right?
Yeah.
And like on stage access, that's kind of.
Yeah.
Call security, to let them know about the Logsdon.
Every
I
morning.
went to get the
Guy
mail.
or.
And they were having an event downstairs,
30-day.
and one of the RNs was like,
It's fun, yeah, got it.
I better up here, and she says, oh, okay, I won't lock it, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's not only security, I guess.
Their games have been successful.
Oh, there he is. We need to, I can't open that door. Oh, okay, I've never opened it.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, here we are. No, I've never opened the door before, wow. That's why, every time you come on this side, it's actually the front, but that's okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Mr. Right there, what the fuck?
Good test, huh? How to get there.
You have some here for you.
Is it right there?
I'm in the dark too.
And grab some dinner.
Yeah.
We'll get started with Alejandro's presentation.
All right.
Okay, hold on.
How did I miss it?
Thank you.
This will be on the
Okay,
record.
here we go. We're sharing. And let's start. From the beginning. There we go. And then I have the transitioner, Alejandro, if you like it.
Oh, okay.
We move this out the way. Back. Okay. But I don't think you can go too far from the top. It's over there like with the mouse.
Looks like,
You didn't move it, huh?
no, it's not, no, it's still in there.
Oh, here, wait, let me do this.
How about if I just give you a nod? Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, cool. All right,
I can't even move. Oh, there we go.
awesome.
Try it now. Let me just say. There we go. Okay.
Cool. All right, so welcome everybody. So Alejandro Espinosa, Chief of Community Engagement. Just gonna give you an overview of some of the work that I'm involved with as my role of Chief of Community Engagement. And I have this obviously digital format, so I can forward it to y'all if y'all are interested in having some of these for your reference. Can you?
How's that going?
No, right in front of Chris too.
Okay, now do it.
There we go. This is just a definition that we have on our job description for the role of the Chief of Community Engagement. develops, implements, and oversees the model community engagement strategy. The TC is also responsible for creating and overseeing programs and services that increase or organizations and community members' engagement with the district's foundation's work and mission, and strengthen the partnership among community-based organizations to improve coordination of community resources and improve outcomes. Also establish open and effective communication channels between district/foundation and the Coachella Valley community by having one-on-one meetings and effectively pursuing presentation opportunities and joining advisory boards and committees. Also serve as the district's ambassador for community partners, learning about community needs, wants, and desires, and advancing the district's initiative. Oops. And then lastly, inform grant-making processes with knowledge about community partners, their needs, and activities. Those are just some of the my roles and responsibilities in my job description that I just wanted to highlight as part of my role. I think the Chief of Community Engagement role really was instrumental in establishing the Coachella Valley Equity Collaborative. The collaborative was established at the onset of COVID-19 when RUHS Public Health reached out to the district and provided us with $3.2 million in funding to increase the reach for COVID-19 testing and then vaccines once they became available. But part of the $3.2 million that we received as part of the collaborative, we awarded 8 community-based organizations to be part of the collaborative to enhance our work. And those organizations include Alianza Coachella Valley, Youth Leadership Institute, El Sol, Pueblo Unido, the LLD Center, STODEC, Líderes Campesinas, and Visión y Compromiso. So once we had the collaborative established, our next step was to establish testing and vaccination events with community-based organizations, local churches, and government entities. And then we partnered with vaccine providers that included the county, Rite Aid, Desert Care Network, and Borrego Health, now PAP Health. And then we also collaborated with the 3 local school districts, new school-based initiatives and vaccination events there. The result was better coordination of events, strategies, resources, and recognition of the needs of our community, because we had all of those community-based organizations really kind of feeding into our strategy, letting us know what's happening in the community. So it was really, really great. The Coachella Valley Collaborative, since our COVID-19 grants have ended, we still have it active. And now we focus on greater public health needs here in the Coachella Valley. So we still meet once a month, and we have over 35 individuals from 20 community-based organizations and government entities that still participate. And we have presenters from different organizations, talking about some of the work that they're doing, promoting events, different programs or projects that they have to enhance the health of the community. So it's still a very active player in the overall health of the Coachella Valleys. One of the things that we did as part of the collaborative too is that we established a communication subcommittee that was spearheaded by Will and Consuelo. And we were able to take very complex information and then break it down into very, very easy to read educational materials in multiple languages. There we have 2 examples. On the one on the left is in Spanish, and on the one on the right is in Purépecha. Purépecha, which is an indigenous language of Purépecha Indians that come from the state of Michoacán in Mexico. So, great work that was done by Will and Consuelo in leading this sub-communication committee that did a lot of our social media activity, developed educational materials, videos, PSAs that were very, very crucial to the success of the collaborative. One of the big feathers in our cap during this whole work that we did with the collaborative was the Farm Worker Initiative, where we partnered with local growers. Initially, agricultural workers were not included in the early stages who were eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The agricultural workers were not considered essential workers by the state. So through advocacy efforts at the California Department of Public Health, it resulted in a change of that. And then we actually were able to get a little bit of an allotment from the county in regards to the COVID vaccine. So let's say, for example, we received 1,000 200 were allocated to farm workers. So in January of 2021, in collaboration with agricultural companies, CV, Growing, Coachella Valley, Tudor Ranch, and other agricultural labor contractors, we were able to register, begin providing vaccines to workers in agricultural fields, warehouses, and distribution centers. The simple changes strategy resulted in access to well over 8,000 farm workers being vaccinated at the workplace. So we were able to address a lot of the barriers since, the registration for the COVID-19 vaccine was all digital, it was all online. So we trained promotoras how to use that county system to enroll folks. And some of the local growers were allowed us to go in a week prior to a vaccination event to enroll a lot of these farm workers. So it was very, very easy for them to just show up, get vaccinated, with all of those barriers being cleared. So I think I have a couple of pictures. Oh, it went rogue again, Andrea.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go. So this is some pictures of us, with the promotoras from Todec and Líderes Campesinas out in the agricultural fields, doing the registration for that. And on the right-hand side, we're doing some testing. Really, really great pictures. There we are at a distribution center at Anthony Vineyards in Coachella, setting up the vaccination clinics with, I believe that's the county Department of Public Health. So really, really great initiative. It caught the attention of the governor. He came down and visited us, and he said that we were the first county in all of California to actually start vaccinating farm workers in their workplace. So, alongside our assembly member, our congressmen, and other supporting staff there, Todec, who was very instrumental in some of this work, we were able to welcome the governor in one of the vaccination clinics that was done at a facility in Coachella. So really, really great exposure for the district and the community.
Can I just interject there as one who was in the office of the supervisor at that time? It's just thanks, Alejandro, for everything you guys did. To your point, is that this was recognized in the state as we were the first in the state, and we would not have been able to make this happen. And it just shows again the collaboration that happened between the district and the county, and the CBOs and nonprofits was absolutely amazing. So.
And I will add that the New York Times said we were the first in the nation.
In the nation, exactly.
What percentage of the farm workers should be done?
Ooh, that's
Roughly.
I would say about 60%.
60%.
Yeah, I was 60% of that.
And not just the first, but also the booster as well.
Yeah.
And the farmers fought that in the beginning, so.
They did, yeah, they were, because a lot of the, mixed messages that they were receiving from, the CDC regarding workplace and, the proximity, they said, well, we have to work very close, or you can't be 6 feet apart in a manufacturing line, so. So it was really, a good partnership with them, and now, we're a very trusted entity and continue to work with a lot of those growers.
Was it challenging because of immigration issue too?
Not really.
Not at that time, no, it was
really more, it was, to the point is, they didn't want to adjust the work type flow. Also, politics played into it, the farmers tend to be a little bit more conservative, there was a lot to it, so.
The one issue that we did find were that a lot of individuals were working under false, or not, a few were working under false social security credentials. So when we actually inputted the information into the system, we said, we're not immigration, we're not ICE, we're not gonna, send your information over. This is, make sure if you go, if this is gonna follow you if you go somewhere else, make sure you're using your correct name. So and that's where a lot of the CBOs came into place, because they were trusted members or entities. So a lot of these, farm workers really said, okay, you guys are trusted, so we'll go ahead and provide that.
And that's where the Shorr really.
They were instrumental. They were amazing. They were amazing of going after the community. Another great initiative that we started through this was school-based vaccination clinics. A lot of the kids, teachers, support staff at the school districts, they said, hey, we're also having issues, vaccinating our students, our staff, can we partner? And we did. So we started the school-based vaccination clinics. And, there we are in the library. vaccinating the kiddos. We had activities for them, coloring books, things like that. And then also did an amazing job. They actually created a comic book that they distributed to the kids. And they actually, their graphic design group that they outsourced to created these two, they created a superhero and the villain. So it was Captain Empath versus Ronan, the super villain. So they actually had the whole suits out there. So each time that we had a vaccination clinic at a school, we actually had those superheroes come out. And on the left-hand side, as you can see, we bought, very fun masks for the kids to wear with different designs. And then those little things that you see on top were little holders for hand sanitizer. So they were very fun for the kids, and they were able to put them on their backpacks. So we try to adjust, according to our target population. So the impact in testing, we did 367 COVID-19 testing events, where we did 23,595 in-person COVID tests. We provided over 20,000 at-home COVID tests. PPE, we provided more than 120,000 masks, 150,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, and over 50,000 disinfecting white packs as part of little goodie bags that we would disseminate at vaccination clinics that included educational materials that once again was distributed by our communication subcommittee. And then in regards to vaccine, and we're still going on this through the funding through US Aging. We have hosted 503 COVID vaccination events. We have provided 5,046 COVID-19 vaccines, 3,032 flu vaccines, 86 RSV, 22 pneumonia, and 51 shingle vaccines. So we did a tremendous job.
Are those vaccines available on the mobile clinic?
They are, yeah. Yeah. Actually, we vaccinated a couple of folks today. So good transition. Thank you for the second.
I hadn't seen the slides.
So the medical mobile unit clinic, as part of the work that we did with the growers, one gentleman, he was, or still is, part of the board there at the Resource Conservation District. He saw the potential of us doing, these types of medical services at the workplace. And he said, hey, we have some funds. What can you think of? And I said, well, how about a medical mobile unit so we can come out here and vaccinate and do other types of medical services for the growers. So in May of 2021, we received a $175,000 grant from the Resource Conservation District for the purchase of the first medical mobile unit. The total cost was $170,000. At the June 28, 2022 Board of Directors meeting, the board approved a 3-year, $500,000 operating budget for the medical mobile unit, which was awarded to LPMP Health through an RFP process. After production delays, we were able to get the mobile unit December 2nd, 2022. So it was really exciting for us to build the first mobile clinic. And then a couple of years afterwards, following the success of the first one, the Conservation District said, wow, you guys are doing a great job. We would like to give you another grant of $140,000 to purchase the second medical mobile unit. So in October 2023, the board accepted the grant from the Coachella Valley Resource Conservation District and awarded DPFG Health a grant for $1,057,000 for 2 years. This grant covered, the purchasing of a truck. This one was more of a trailer than the actual mobile unit, because the truck, they could actually, more doctors could ride in. Then at the back of the truck, they put all the tables and chairs and canopies that they use as part of the process. So on May 11, 2024, we hosted a ribbon cutting ceremony for the medical mobile unit and an open house for a clinical space that serves at the clinic and pharmacy hub for both medical mobile units. And this is in our 5x5 in Chico. And they actually now secured 2 additional spaces there to increase their practice. So definitely great partnership with them. Some of the hosting sites, community partners that we have, Loglist from ABC Recovery, Birth Choice of the Desert, that refer women who don't have an OBGYN provider. We are able to connect them with one. The City of Desert Hot Springs, where they're at the Access Hub and at the Senior Center. We participated with the City of Palm Springs RISE Initiative. The CV Housing Coalition, we rotate through all of their sites. Coachella Valley Unified School District, we provide services there. The Desert Recreation District, we're at their community centers. Desert Sands, same things. Desert Hot Springs Senior Center, we did our first clinic there last week, and we're gonna do these on a monthly basis now. At the Galilee Center, we provide services for the asylum seeking families that are under their care. And now we have expanded that, and now we're doing dental services. So DEP Health was out there once a month with their medical dental clinic. And our mobile clinic, since we're there every Tuesday, we identify individuals that need dental services, and we refer them to the DEP Health mobile clinic. And then growing Coachella Valley, it continues to be a partner of ours with all of the local growers. Martha's Village and Kitchen at the Palm Springs Navigation Center, we're about to start next month. Palm Springs Unified School District, Sergio and Belen were at a clinic there today. The San Bernardino Catholic Diocese, so we're pretty much have access to all of the local Catholic churches here locally. SWAG, who is the new operator of the DHS Access Hub. And then One Desert, we're there every Friday at Our Lady of Guadalupe. Then our impact, since the launch of the first mobile unit, the first medical unit has seen 8,122 district residents. And the second mobile unit has seen 2,431 district residents.
Are those unique residents?
Some of them are repeat. Yeah, some of them are repeat, but not the majority. I would say, we did provide different services. So we provide sports physicals for all student athletes at all 3 school districts. We provide Tdap and other required vaccines for students at all 3 school districts. Primary care for adults and children. We did the pap smears, telepsych consultations, wound care for a lot of the unhoused individuals. We have pharmacology, health education, and like I mentioned, we also have OBGYN services. And those are just some of the pictures. This is at the DHS Access Hub, where we have overflow, we have some clothing, we have haircuts for folks, we have the LPMP Health mobile unit providing those services. So it's a really, really nice model. We also rent a van where we go out into the different encampments and actually bring the folks into the Access Hub for them to receive those services. And that's done through the partnership with Word of Life Fellowship Church, who, provide those bag lunches that Kurt was talking about earlier, every Tuesday. So they have a built-in relationship with those folks, so they don't hesitate at all to get on the van to come into the Access Hub. And then, yes, sir.
Is there any sensitivity to mental health screening?
We are now incorporating some of that with second mobile unit, so there is now telepsych capacity.
And ultimately referrals to a higher level of acuity if necessary.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so they have, DPMG Health has two psychiatrists on staff.
Good.
Yeah.
And they're able to offer medication, psychotropic drugs.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Psychotropics.
It's just.
Yeah. Thorazine.
And then, and then now one of the new things that we did, and y'all heard about it at our last board meeting, was the mobile health events. Part of my vision is to do these type of similar events where there's other entities that have mobile units. So I want to bring them all together and start doing these, mobile health events together with our 2 mobile units. In this case was the Pink Journey Foundation that was doing mammograms for the women. So, we want to do these, quarterly. And there's already plans to replicate this. We have a tentative date in March in Desert Hot Springs with Word of Life Fellowship Church, and also the DHS Senior Center, who are very interested in hosting some of these events. So we're hopefully going to add additional services like the DAP Dental Clinic, Alliance Club with their vision. Those are 2 big needs that we hear about from the community. So, we'll be able to coordinate all of this, secure the site, provide the staffing, funding for some of these services, just like we did with the first one, and incentive for the participants. And it turned out, really, really great. Our CEO, Chris Christensen, was there on site and he saw the magic happen. And these are great events for us to really, bring all of these mobile units that are just kind of scattered throughout the valley, really not coordinated. We could bring them all under one umbrella and say, hey, we want to do a very, intentional place-based initiative, an event at a selected community. and just start replicating these throughout the Coachella Valley. Very similar to like the Flying Doctors and the California Care Force, but at a smaller scale.
Keep me in the loop on that too, Alana, because again, for like behavioral health in the county, public health, another one too, depending on the area, would be CDEX, they have their mobile vans for homeless stuff too as well.
Okay.
So I think it's a great idea, so.
Yeah. And we already have another one scheduled through a grant through UCR for Dr. Cheney, the clinic that she does. And I received an email today, and we already have pretty much all about 85% of the appointments booked already for another event, but just like this. And
Is that a women's health event or what's that?
yeah, it's a women's health event as part of their free clinic that they do once a month on a Saturday out in Mecca at the local church. But then we also moved it into the Mountain View Estates. We're allowed to put a Pecha community reside. So we're gonna be at Mountain View Estates from 9 to 12. We're gonna pack up and then go to the church from 2 to 6. So we're gonna have two locations one day doing all of these events.
Remind me, they have like the mobile mammograms and stuff too.
Yeah. Very, very high tech, machine inside of that mobile unit. And then,
Pretty
DPMP.
impressive.
Yeah, very impressive and expensive,
Yeah.
right, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah. And it also has the capacity to do, mammography screens for men as well. So they're able to change the adapter, for smaller breasts, larger breasts, so really great. All right, now moving on to environmental health. Environmental health, we have been, a little bit active. We are active participants in the AD 617 initiative that is spearheaded by the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Prior to COVID, we had commissioned a couple of reports, one of them being from the Public Health Institute on air quality assessments and the health impact of, that bad air quality. We partnered with South Coast Air Quality Management District on an Air Quality Academy in partnership with Alianza, where we actually ran 15 community members through an Air Quality Academy and installed, air sensors in their home so we could get hyper-localized, air quality data from these 15 community members that resided out in the eastern part of the Coachella Valley. And then lastly, with Concord, we developed an air quality emergency communication plan to coordinate communication between fire response agencies, the school district, and families. And that arose from the Ibanez fire, that was the mulch fire that was near the schools out in the eastern part of the Coachella Valley, where different entities were mixed messages and the community was really upset. So we hired Concord to develop this air quality emergency communication plan. And they actually use it a couple of times now. Now they use the air quality index. When it's really bad, they bring the kids indoors to the multi-purpose room and they cease all, physical activities outdoors. So as part of that, we took really good feedback and recommendations from those 3 reports, and we developed an environmental health data walk, an RFP, which we hosted on Tuesday, June 4th of last year. So as part of that, that's where we allocated $1 million for over 2 years. After thorough application review process, 5 organizations were awarded, and they include DAP Health, Youth Leadership Institute, Visión y Compromiso, Desert Recreation District, and the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. And we're bringing them together on February 27th to do like a lunch and learn, just like we did in the previous RFP. So they could make connections, so they know what each organization is doing, so there's going to be some areas for cross collaboration amongst those 5 awardees. And there is our attendees and Donna providing an overview. And as you can see there on the wall, we took a lot of the data and recommendations from those 3 reports. So we were able to do the data walk with all of these community members, leaders, key stakeholders. So then we really could get the input to draft the RFP that was launched. And then lastly, we had the Environmental Health Summit, which was hosted September 20th and 21st. We had over 500 attendees between both days. We had great presenters, great topics. We had a website. Will, once again, did an amazing job along with Consuelo and the communications team. They developed, a website and with assistance from Stephanie Miner and our own Gracie. They really did an amazing job. We had a dynamic keynote speaker, Nayeli Kobo, was very impactful, and just her story was really moving. And then this year, the summit will include a one-day conference on Thursday, September 11th, followed the next day, Friday, September 12th, with half-day tours to agencies that are promoting environmental health, producing renewable energy, and or conserving the environment. So we're gonna do pretty much like you do in college, you do the theory, and then you go to the application of it the next day. So the lab is the next day. So it's gonna be a little bit different than last year. So much more.
And we'll start communicating that with the board, in our upcoming board meetings, but we'll learn more about that. But I think this is a good program that we're working on developing. We'll have, budget that we'll bring into the board, et cetera, in future dates.
And then lastly, CB-HIP that turned into Connect IE. So CB-HIP had so many names. It was Coachella Valley Health Info Place to Coachella Valley Health Information Portal. So we, I think it was before my time, Donna and our former CEO, Kathy Greco, brought together subject matter experts to develop this online resource guide of health and wellness services that are specific to the Coachella Valley. But then IEHP was doing something similar, and how obviously they have much deeper pockets than we do. So we said, okay, well, let's partner, and now we have the Connect IE platform. As part of all of the grants that we award, we meet on the post-award consultation meetings that we have with the awardees. We ensure that all of our grantees are on the database of the Connect IE platform. And we also do presentations to their staff, to their clients, et cetera. As you can see there, we partnered with IEHP. If folks are not able to access it online, they could call 211. The 211 operators are now using the system. United Way is doing outreach, and Empire Health Information Organization. They reach out to physician offices and clinics and hospitals to enroll them in this. We here in the Coachella Valley, we do all of that. And then lastly, the last partner is Find Health, formerly known as Bertha, and they're the ones who do all the website development for us. And that's my presentation.
Excellent, thank you. I have one question about Connect IE. At one point in time, the thought was to make a referral to a practitioner, and then the practitioner would acknowledge the referral and get back saying this person was seen. Has that happened?
We did do a pilot launch on that, and it really didn't work so well. Just because there was no monetary incentives on the provider, this is just another thing that we have to do. And a lot of them, they receive referrals to traditional sources through a phone call or an email. So the launch of that was not, and we also ran into HIPAA issues because of the medical information being sent over electronically, and then so those kind of created some issues where IHP said, let's back off this. And now you're able to send just information like a name and a phone number, and then they'll call them directly. But you're not able to send like the whole medical record. And that was the vision of it, where the medical record would travel with the individual in the digital cloud. But then if I give consent, how long does the consent is viable for? Do I have to get a consent every year? So some of those HIPAA issues kind of, backed off on,
Thank you. Are there any other questions for all members?
One question.
Yes, sir.
For the start of 2025, is there a strategic goal? Do you have plans put in place for what you want to accomplish in 2025? Is that outlined somewhere? You kind of talked about some of the stuff you wanted to do, but is there a vision that you, as the chief of kind of the community outreach, is that prepared somewhere? Is that a presentation you give to the board? Is that something you have laid out? So we have an idea of what your plans are for 25, for 26. Because yes, we have a grant plan, we have some grant initiatives that I hear about, but you're kind of a standalone thing. You're something else that we support because it benefits the whole community. So we have a similar strategic vision for what you're doing this year?
Well, I think part of that's gonna be driven on the grand scheme of our strategic planning process, because. I mean, I think we're continuing to do what Alejandro is doing right now, but I mean, we're talking about, greater part of 25, 26. I think that's all part of, I think what we're looking at for the future as well, but Alejandro and his team that he works with. And
I imagine they see what you would like to see or what your goals would be. And I wasn't sure how that relationship is, whether you were putting this together and coming to the board to discuss, or we're saying, hey, this is what we want you to go do. I would like to hear from you as the guy who's on the ground. What's your strategic plan? Put that together. If you're the head of operations there. Yeah, I would like to hear what you think about it. This is how we go impact the community, because the 3 or 4 things I've heard you mention, so the vaccinations and the farm workers, just to build trust in that community, we need to capitalize on that, because that is a very untrusting community that really supports a large part of our population. And I think if we could take what you've done here and extrapolate that even into the Central Valley outside of our district, but hey, this is what works. There's a large community of farm workers that are very much unreached.
And the other thing too is, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm gonna use the word reactionary, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It's because that's what Alejandro's done over the and the district, is that they like come up to the plate. But I agree, is like taking what you've done and the best practices and creating like a strategic thing. Because I was gonna make a comment, not a question. We talk a lot about the district is not known, nobody knows who the district is. This work has really elevated, and Will's work too in the communication side, that in partnership has really elevated the exposure of the district. And I agree, Dan, is that having, if we can show the public this is the plan over the next 2 years on our community engagement side, it's a great idea.
And I think about something and, work with Chris and the rest of the team on something.
And I agree, Chris, too, it's a part of this strategic plan.
Yes, and that's why I like the idea, but I think it's gotta be part of our broader plan. I mean, just individuals doing things, I agree, that does not work very well, I think, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Any other questions?
Everybody knows the district now, I'm gonna get $100 million.
Exactly.
They're gonna know what we're doing with it.
Yeah, but even that, the East Valley people wouldn't have known that, the farmers wouldn't know that. I mean, they don't follow that $100 million tenant lease though. So
Even the people in South Palm Desert where I live, no idea what's going on. No idea, the amount of questions I get about this board that you're sitting on, what is it?
The broader population doesn't,
Which comes back to here, our strategic plan with you.
like when you talk about, the public awareness of the district. We did have a time with predecessors on the board that did not want to have public awareness, wanted to fly under the radar, and which was kind of a disservice to the district overall. And so it's taken a while to start elevating that public awareness, and Will's done a great job in the work that Alejandro and others are doing.
Well, the whole grant process too, I mean,
Absolutely.
I hear about that, I've heard about the grant process, I just haven't, before you gave a talk maybe last month, I hadn't really heard about this at all, and I work in the community, I work in the healthcare community, I take care of a lot of these patients. No idea about the outreach again.
Yeah, and it used to be, even with the grants that we gave out, we should be getting public recognition for those grants that are given. And it used to be that was not promoted.
It needs to be elevated.
And if I'm not mistaken, South is part of our strategic planning. Right? I think you guys are part of it. As we start preparing for that, it'd be good, if you Chris would assign them, right, to come up with some ideas whether they're each department.
We've been working on that.
Retreats.
I saw just a little bit, because that's great, but it's all part of the whole thing.
And I agree with Chris, I think it's something collectively that could be a part of a grander plan, and we welcome that we all will develop together, same thing with
We're talking ideas internally, and so we'll be prepared to, bring those to the table and start that process.
Yeah,
with a consultant.
Just think big though, right? I think that's kind of what I was gonna get to. The final point was like, think big about what you can do. Right, what you've accomplished with little has been great. Imagine what you can do a lot more. And think big impact, don't just stay very small minded. So that's why it's good to sit down and start to think about these things now before 27.
Right.
Great.
We have a whole meeting over.
I was just gonna say, scale up 5 minutes.
Like, it looked like an Amazon warehouse, leaving 50 trucks, you see about that.
Right. Okay, shall we move on to parent presentation? Anybody want to grab a water, stretch for a minute?
Is it 20 minutes, Eric?
I will make some adjustments.
Greg explained.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah, that's Greg. He's one of those.
One of the newbies.
Yeah,
He's a newbie.
yeah, he's the one who wants to doing the orientation.
You're a freshman.
Oh. Easy starts.
Well, how far east do you go sometimes with your engagement?
All the way down to the county borderline, all the way down to Imperial County.
Okay.
Riverside County.
Right, it's better to be a little bit cold than to be too hot, otherwise I'll be fine asleep. No, it's not boring, it's just. Yeah, I'm just a know-it-all.
What is that?
I did, it was beautiful.
It was amazing.
It was really nice, so somebody else was up to say that. I knew it was gonna be nice when I look at, when I can see it through the, that was beautiful. It was
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Mhm, that's what I saw, in the clouds. Are we ready? It's Greg.
Yeah.
He can listen.
Oh, you can start.
Well, they want you to make sure.
We're gonna test you afterwards, see if you're paying attention.
Right, well, good evening, as you know, my name is Eric Taylor. I'm the Chief Administration Officer for the District and Foundation. Been with the organization for 5 years in March. Most of this has been with the accounting manager, but I was promoted to my current position in July of 2024. So I know on the finance side, it's not quite as fun as community engagement, but it's still an important piece. So the first element was just going over similar to my fellow teammates here, just talking about the position itself. So for the Chief Administration Officer, we'll generally use that as, or refer to it as CAO. So if the position manages and supervises the day-to-day operations of the organization, work with the CAO is a critical factor in the overall performance of the organization, ensuring the smooth operations of the business, keeping with established policies and procedures. That's a really important element. And then also an integral member of the executive leadership team, with a key role in development of organization mission, vision, and strategy. So definitely looking forward to participating in the strategic planning element this time around. The last time around, I wasn't involved in that. So on the position itself, there's 4 main categories under the CAO role. We've got the accounting finance, really the biggest portion of the role, includes supervision of the accounting manager position. There's administration, which includes elements such as involvement with the development of strategies and policies, as well as contract management. We also have human resources, currently coordinated by the Regional Government Services, or RGS, just as to note that, since that's not only on recent agenda items, but also for next week's agenda. And then the last we have is information technology. With that, we coordinate with SoCal Computer Shop as the district's consultant. If you haven't already, you'll at some point hear our reference to Harry Slack, who's the owner of SoCal Computer Shop and been in the district for many years. So now we will start diving into each of those areas a little bit. And I do want to note, I gave everybody a copy of the most recent district audit. That's just for reference. I'm not going to be addressing it specifically here. It's just down copies, and I wanted to share those with you. Down the one side. Yeah, I didn't have that many copies. So your essential duties and responsibilities. I listed out a lot of these. I'm not necessarily going to go over every one, but about plan and role in compiling the organizational budget, developing growth strategy, as well as managing the budgets and organizational assets. Thing that you see most often is our monthly presentations to the F&A committee as well as board of directors. And then kind of after we work through all these budgets, talking about having the managing the annual audits of all the district, the foundation, as well as the retirement protection plan, which will be the retirement plan for employees who worked with us when we were at Desert Hospital before the tenant lease. We're still working with 10 and a lot of them currently. And then the related elements of the audit is making sure we file our tax returns and important reports to the state controller's office. One of the elements as well, overseeing the district real estate holdings. Biggest one being the Las Palmas Medical Plaza across the way there. So overseeing the leasing, property maintenance, and management of that property. We talked about the administration of the retirement plan, and then also the lead on the F&A committee. So, and please feel free to ask questions as we go, trying to get the bullet points here, and then towards the second half, I'll dive more into the fun financial stuff. Keeping it brief, focus there. Unless everybody wants to hear about numbers. I didn't figure out what the case here. All right, so under the administration, I've broken up the different elements of the job description and just kind of put them under the most appropriate categories. Some of these actually work on more than one role here. And I'm thinking specifically one of the last ones, ensuring compliance with federal, state, and local laws. That can fall under the finance elements as well as under the administration. But one of the key elements there is going to be the strategies and policies, management, contracting and contract management, and then being on the board and staff communications and policies committee, as well as the hospital lease oversight committee. Jump into human resources here. With human resources, we're looking at managing hiring, manage performance reviews. We do currently use Trackstar's software platform to conduct our annual employee reviews. We just recently reviewed that, I think it was in the last 2 months, which is making that, in case anyone's familiar with that. As well as maintaining employee records, working with the external human resources consultant, or GS, as I mentioned earlier, and then making sure we're in compliance with legal elements as well. So IT is up next. So the job description doesn't specifically give a whole lot about IT, but there are elements that are interwoven in there. So things such as administration of our organizational assets, phones, computers, physical chairs and desks and whatnot, although that's not necessarily in the IT. But we're really looking at electronic security. So one of the elements that I'm working on with Harry is just looking at that, making sure we have up-to-date devices to make sure that we've got the ability to get the most recent security updates and make sure that our data is protected, because that's very essential. We use QuickBooks for our financial software. So even with that, just coordinating that software with Harry to ensure that we can access only the necessary staff have access internally, as well as being able to access that remotely and securely for an element. And we're just looking at new elements in the workplace that today requires thinking about things in a different manner. So we're working with Harry on drafting some policies. So right now the policy manual itself doesn't have information technology specific policies. A few of them touch on it a bit as far as record retention, looking to expand on that, just so you know, thank you, I asked questions last night, but they're asking about, you know, the elements of that, so that's one thing we're hoping to start bringing up in the near future here. So as we move from information technology to more of the financial elements, I was just highlighting consistency, accuracy, and systematic. Those are three elements which are really tied to the next portion of the presentation here. All right, so now we'll get into the specifics on the financial side, a few key points. So first thing we have is where's our money coming from? So for district income, we've really got three main sources. I'm going to reference our budgeted values here, but I do want to note that we budget the values conservatively. We want to make sure that what we're expecting to get takes into consideration our past performance, but isn't setting the bar too high and we're not able to reach that. So I will reference how we've noted these. So tax payments. So for this year's budget, we have 10.2 million. That represents just under about a 10% increase of what we actually received last year. The last couple of years, we've had closer to about a 14 or 15% increase. Hardest part is just not knowing how long that level of increase can continue. So we want to be a little bit more conservative in our budget, but have been experiencing increases every year.
It seemed to trend with home values then.
Yeah. With that, we have a lot of
Construction.
sales.
I would just expect, as home values rise at a certain percentage, you expect our revenues to.
And new construction. Like the biggest drivers.
Oh, yeah, it's more assets, you know.
Looks to be a deficit in Lake County.
Yeah.
What they're gonna do, property tax. What's their big debate? Yeah, and then when they rebuild, they're gonna have the old rate, the old property.
One of the next big categories here is investment income. So the district side, we budgeted about 916,000. That was based on the average returns for the last 5 years. We had a couple of good years, but prior to that, we had kind of some low returns there, so it blends to get us what we're experiencing. And with our most recent financial reports for December, we're exceeding what we were expecting on this so far. And then we also have rental income from the medical plaza. So we've got 1.5 million budgeted. Majority of that is going to be just for the lease revenue itself. We also have about 455,000 for our common area maintenance fees. So this is a fee assessed based on the proportion of the lease space, includes costs such as the property taxes, property maintenance, security, general repairs, and other common area expenses, water, electricity, and waste disposal. So what we do is we utilize the actual expenses for the prior calendar year to establish the rate that we're going to charge the tenants. And then each year in March, we end up reconciling what we actually have for our final costs just to settle up. And that could involve a potential credit back to the tenants. More often it's getting the excess you're covered from the tenants because we don't want to raise it too high. You know, when looking at last year's, usually we'll get a little bit lower than what we've experienced just to try to make it a little bit easier. But part is costs over the last several years definitely up on that.
Now, what's the plan for accounting for the tenant bolus monies that is going to be coming in over the next 30 years?
Tenant money, well, I think part of that element is really going to be involved in how we work with the strategic plan and then developing.
If you get a payment next month, what do you plan to do with it?
Well, I would think we need to make. We really need to know the direction of the board in order to move forward and then develop how do we invest or where do we put the funds there to ensure.
So you're just gonna bank it pending this spending policy decision.
Well, and if we're talking about the lease revenue money in 2027, then yeah, that's all gonna be part of our planning process because we need to have the financial investment component working along with them. So.
Thank you.
Derek, I know that the district owns the Sturgis building. Do we have rental income from that?
No, the storage is part of the tenant lease, so we're allowed to utilize the top, but we don't. It's part of the tenant lease.
And Alberta.
It's nothing.
That's part of the tenant, and all these, so the Sturgios, the Mirador, and the hospital are all part of the assets that will transfer in 2057.
We'll
They're
keep them.
part of the lease, but the assets will transfer
So
over.
this building will move. That this is,
I'm sorry,
this is the building that they will own that.
they will own this building as well.
And the cancer center building, is that part of the
Yeah, it's part of the El Mirador building.
okay. And the building that Dr. Ercole started.
Yeah.
And Hanson House.
That actually belongs to the district.
Who, if anybody gets parking revenue, but there is no parking revenue.
There is none.
Is that our domain to discuss, or is that part of the tenant operational profile?
As far as parking income,
I can't,
that's all part of the lease property.
it's part of the lease properties,
Yeah.
so we have no input to that.
They don't charge. They don't charge. Yeah.
They have free buildings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all free parking.
Free parking.
For sure.
Better than USC is
Yeah, with the medical plaza, it's a separate property itself where this whole campus is,
Yeah,
with the exception of the Hanson houses.
yeah, so everything on the campus except for the Hanson house is part of the lease property.
Hanson House is owned.
And then the separate property, Las Palmas Medical Plaza across the street, we own separately.
Moving on to foundation income. So while the district income is a little more predictable, the foundation income is really based more on estimates. So as an example, we budgeted 1 million for this fiscal year in gifts, contributions, and grants. So part of what makes it up, we had an estimated 50,000 for potential external partners, similar to what we've had the last couple of years, but that's an estimate. Nothing yet has come up specifically into that line, but that was what we utilized in our budgeting process. 200,000 in estimated external grants. We're anticipating being able to work with an external source. It looks like that should be moving forward in terms of the county grant for the COVID tests that we had, but maybe weren't quite sure on that until just recently, trying to work on getting that insurance, which I know you've heard it several times there. It's been quite a process on that. As well as 750,000 we noted as positive support from the district. So the last couple of years, the district has granted 750,000 to the foundation in operating support. Second element for the foundation income is going to be the Frederick Lowe bequest. So we have about 60,000 that comes in each year from the royalties for that line. Yeah, and that, that changes depending on how the royalties are going. I've seen a change just in quantity of things, like when COVID first hit, it seemed to drop a little bit, not a huge amount, but different entities getting permission to use the rights to do plays and whatnot, so I've seen a little bit of variation in that. The 60,000, we had a little bit over 60,000 last year, so that's in line with what we're looking for. Then our investment income on the foundation side, budgeted about 300,000, same as the district, is the average return for the last 5 years. So quick note on the investment portfolio, since we did talk about it on both sides. On the district side, we've got the facilities replacement fund, which was valued at about 67.8 million as of December 31st. That fund was established to provide operating support should the lease with Desert Regional terminate early. Seeing as we now executed a new lease, these funds would be something that could be designated by the board to utilize as we wait for the first lease payment of 100 million in May of 2027. So that investment is primarily U.S. Treasury notes. On the foundation side, we do have 2 different accounts, the Morgan Stanley with about 887,000, and Merrill Lynch with about 3.2 million as of the end of calendar 2024. Those investment accounts include corporate bonds, US Treasury notes, and stocks. So we talked about our income. So we got the money coming in, now money going out. So internal control is an essential piece, not only for just our day-to-day operations, but ensuring that we are compliant, that we get proper responses on our audits. So the key there, appropriate approval levels, just make sure we have accountability, proper documentation of all of our expenses on both district and foundation side. So I just noted one element that's something we do on a daily basis. So we get an invoice coming in, I will end up reviewing and approving that invoice. I might reach out to one of my fellow staff members just to get their agreement regarding the work, but I'm looking at validating that it's in line with our expectations. So that could mean for contract terms, or if it's not specifically in our contract, is it within an expected range for that type of services? Once I've approved the invoice, then we route it to the accounting manager to enter into our QuickBooks software. From there, we print a check, or we set up an ACH. That then comes back to me to validate the check before I route for signatures, or if it's an ACH, I would validate that before the payment is made. And then next step has to do with the board and CEO to get either the check signed or the ACH documentation approved. And then ultimately, all of that data comes back, on the FMA committee to the board for their review and approval, just to demonstrate the full scope of.
Is there an amount that you're allowed to approve? Are there certain approval thresholds that certain individuals hold within the organization?
Yeah, definitely. Check rate, so with our check writing.
I'm so sorry.
So eligible signers, we have the CEO and directors with signatures on file. So as a note, I will be updating the signature cards just to make sure we've got all signatures in the very near future here. So any check issued under 5,000 requires a single signature by the CEO or an eligible director. It's greater than 5,000, we would need 2 signatures from them. What's that?
What if it's just 5,000?
It would do.
You have under and over.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, 5,000 and up. My apologies.
Got it.
So 5,000 itself is the threshold when we have the dual signatures. And so when we have electronic payments, then do the same deal where I just be getting the same numbers of signatures. Now, with that electronic process, it's not held up and approved by the directors. I'm routing the paperwork there. That we do have as an internal process, which will be approved by, if the county manager submitted it, we would be myself approving it, or Chris would be able to approve the ACH. But we do have limited items currently that we do for ACH, which primarily is health insurance payments, legal payments, and then on occasion, you might get a contract that specifies that. But the ability to issue more electronic payments will be something that we review just to allow more flexibility. But there's a little bit more work. I'd like to reach out to some other entities and just see what else they do to maintain the appropriate levels of control and approvals, satisfy what our auditors are looking for before we move forward with any sort of recommendations or discussions.
I'm really glad that it's about time. I've been asking for this for a while, and I just think that it's necessary. When I think about the possibility of mail fraud, and the one time that we had the fraud, it just unbelievable that we waited this long. So, thank you.
And we just want to make sure that we're,
No, but it needs to be done. That check.
I'm not saying it doesn't, I'm just saying we want to make sure that we're compliant with our audit folks and.
But it's been like a year since I've asked for that.
Okay.
So then, even that, we may people benefit more from realizing rebates by utilizing, say, a credit card. We don't really have any invoices that I've seen where it offers any sort of payment discounts for pay early, but we always pay as soon as we can. And the invoices that are coming in.
And the 2 signatures that are required are going to be the CEO and a director or 2 directors.
Correct.
Nobody else on the
Any
staff.
combination.
nobody on the staff and nobody else has signatory rights.
Not for a physical check. ACH payment would be either my position or Chris's position.
Is there a limit on that, or are those usually, like you said, health insurance related, pension related, whatever they?
We have current limits set up in place, but we don't, the most expensive thing I can think of that we've had to issue would be for paying a legal bill. On a month. You know, some of the more recent ones, when we're talking about hospital lease negotiations, have been a little bit more than I don't recall us doing greater than 50,000. And that's a rarity, but our health insurance premiums are just under 20,000 on a monthly basis, and so that was something regular.
Eric, at one time we had talked about possibly having electronic payments for, some of the smaller bills, but there have been some challenges, I suppose, with that. And I certainly don't want to put you on the spot at all, but, what can we do, maybe to save paper, just to move forward with
I
maybe?
think that was Director Lara's just.
Oh, I'm sorry, I know, okay, you were talking about the picture.
I can use the phrase ACH, which for electronic payment and synonymous, but I didn't clarify that, so that's a good point.
And all of that information gets brought out on those finance meetings, those are the things that you showed me before, but.
The check register will list all the checks and who they are written to,
And the ACHs.
and the ACHs will be listed on there as well. Most often, when we payroll, the ACH rather than check. Yeah, that report would have those on there, and then we've expanded on that report over time as requests of the committee, where we'll put grant payments specified measure from there. If it's got an individual's name, we'll notate what it's for. On occasion, that might be a consulting payment, but more often than not, it might be a stipend or an expense reimbursement for staff or directors.
And then in terms of the timing of release, I mean, we have the cash on hand, but is that something that gets cleared by somebody before you release an ACH on timing, or is it just bill comes in, we pay, the AP goes out right away?
We would make sure that if we were running into any sort of, I don't want to say cash transfer, that's not the right word, but we wanted more cash, we move it from the investment account. Now with that would require specific authorization from the something that can be done on the CEO level, and just getting a letter drafted from them to authorize, and then we would then utilize that letter as our backup and then authorize ACH in the system, which would require, if I set it up, then Chris would approve.
And we have some policies that I could look at just to kind of get up to date on how we do these things. And for how many years, I'm only asking just because, financial controls around this as the money begins to increase is gonna be very important. Just so we have very strict controls, but they're being very transparent about how we move money. And not necessarily for now, but I think 30, 40 years from now, having those controls in place, you guys already have, but very specific controls around how money moves. Because I think if you look at organizations that have been in problems, it's all around not having controls on who's moving money, who's approving moving money, who goes to being moved. So those are some things that I think are just really important that we focus on. So I'm glad we have a good start here.
Yeah, and one element I would note on those as far as external transfers from investment accounts, the way that we've set it up, the only account that can move out the investment money can only go out to our district or foundation account. No other accounts, so it's
No wires, none of that.
So.
Yeah, so we-
accounts.
I think I'd like to see those controls and what we have in place.
Yeah, because what, like say, any of the larger monies that we do is moving between our investment account and the operating account, so. And those are approved by director before we do that, so. So I think those same controls are what's in place, whether we're doing, $2 million or $100 million.
So we talked about money coming in, we talked about money going out. I wanted to note on the annual budget, and then I'll try to wrap it up here because I've exceeded my 20 minutes. Annual budget, start the process in April. We're generally presenting it to the board for approval in May. What we do is utilize the financial data for the first 9 months to estimate for the remainder of the year.
Why do we continue to use a fiscal year? I mean, there's gotta be some underlying logic to it. I guess I never understood.
I'm drawing a blank on my case studies, but
I think typically, public agencies have a fiscal year.
Is that the reason? Okay.
yeah, there are certain elements too, where it was encouraged to not use the same calendar year.
Okay.
I'm not recalling that offhand.
Plus, it's nice for the accounting staff not to have to do year-end closing, so.
And it's separately.
Exactly.
That's, very.
Touche.
But I think it's probably easy, especially because of the way dollars flow from the Fed and.
Yeah.
And then, so our budget, not only estimating what we're gonna have, but then we're considering past performance, but also making sure we're taking into consideration the active contracts, grant payments, and utilizing that for where the funds will be going out. So this is not as large as I thought it would be on this screen here, but one of the elements too of the budget is our detail. And so on this, it's hard to see at the very bottom. So one of the lines, 6130 is our dues and memberships. And this will be the last page of the budget. So it's the last page or pages on the district side, usually a single page on the foundation. It'll just show what we've anticipated. So in here, like dues and memberships, talking about ACHD membership and CSDA membership and different P grant making net file, which where we do our 700 or perform 700s, APHA, and then as well as just making sure we have another category that tries to account for things that we may not know. Things change, new memberships may come up that we want to participate in, so we try to account for those elements as well. And so once we've got the budget, we've got money coming in, we've got money going out. The sum of it all is really our annual audit process. That tying everything together. So right now, our processes provide the necessary documentation and approval paths to demonstrate our commitment to safeguarding our funding. This funding allows us to move forward with our mission and vision for the Coachella Valley residents. So we take pride in our level of detail in the process, but we still appreciate the outside validation that everything is conducted appropriately through our auditing process. So there's two main phases to our annual audit. First, usually occurs mid to late May. We have our auditors on site for about a week to review the first 10 months of transactions for the fiscal year. And then the next phase occurs usually the first week of August, and they come back out for another week in the office, and that way they can review the new transactions that occurred in May and June, as well as tying everything together. Now they have a whole picture for the year. They can look at all those elements. They'll look at our policies and what some of the related contracts and just validate that everything is in alignment. And then once we get I was kind of go over these elements. Two elements to the audit, and then we get back. Then the main thing that we're looking for here, this is just a snippet, which you'll also find in the audit report here. Just talking about the auditor's report. And so the main thing we're looking for, which we consistently get, is that last paragraph talking about their opinion that they're presented fairly in all material respects, and that we're following accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We consistently have that. That's our goal. That is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any more questions for Eric? Hearing none, we'll go to Will D.
The best part.
He's
Okay, it's all good.
the headliner, he's the headliner.
Hold on.
So what I intended with this presentation is to offer a high level look at how we approach communications and marketing, to provide some examples of things that we've done in the community. And I'm going to talk about what we can do in the future to improve the effectiveness.
Pretty much water.
So as you learned last night, we have a 2-member communications and marketing team. There's my role as director. We have an awesome communications assistant, Isabella Marquez. We work in tandem daily. So we have this common objective, which is twofold. We work with our internal staff to promote the great work that our team is doing. But we also work with external media partners as well as grantees that are working to advance programs and initiatives for the community health of Coachella Valley residents. And this is done primarily by implementing, monitoring, and evaluating our communication strategy in ways that you probably know: advertising, promotions, public relations. Maybe this is the shit go. So there are 4 main components of how we implement this approach. Through our websites, we now have 3, and Andrea will talk about the 3rd one. Through social media, through news releases, and through community events. Our main website, dhcd.org, was redesigned and relaunched in 2019 to create a more visually appealing and user-friendly website. It's managed by the staff. The website is required and designed to keep the community informed about our grants program, policies, news, and more. A reimagining and update are due according to our communications and marketing plan. That plan was revised in 2019. So the reimagining would serve as a communications tool to engage with residents. We keep talking about what's to come, and so that's definitely going to affect what we do in terms of communications and marketing. Highlights of our user activity on the website, which is last year. We had 68,000 page views, 31,000 active users.
I think it was 20,000 of those. I was 20,000 of those views.
Oh, thank you. And our active users, they usually have 2.14 views per visit. About 40 seconds is how much time they spend on those views. And you see there we had 32. Last year, we had a couple of peaks, one in January, and that correlated with our announcement about the lease purchase agreement meetings. That was the first meeting. And also in April, also correlated with, that was right in the middle of a group of meetings. We had 5 meetings in March and April. The new website is healthydeserthealthyu.com. This was launched last year to promote our environmental health summit and to educate the community about local environmental health issues. It's managed by the staff, and the site is being updated to raise awareness about the 2nd annual summit, which Alejandro mentioned, which is coming up this September.
Do you link both of those sites on each of those sites?
We will link a story from the main site to that site, but we don't link back to the main. It's really trying to grow Healthy Desert Healthy. Social media, since 2018, which is when I started, our social media outreach and followers have consistently increased. We've seen Facebook grow to 2,400 followers now, which is in line with some smaller health organizations. We do better than Desert Oasis, not as well as the hospitals though, Eisenhower and DCN. Our Instagram has grown to 824 followers, so that's including 31 on the new HDHY Summit page. And we have a new LinkedIn account, 328 followers. In the smaller print, we have a new YouTube channel and Blue Sky accounts that were launched last year. And what I'm excited about, the Healthy Desert Healthy podcast, which will begin in March. And this is really to continue the conversations that were started at the summit last year. But because it's called Healthy Desert Healthy You, we can actually talk about any topics. And I'm excited about it because in a sense, it's really creating our own media.
Well, was Blue Sky in addition to our X account, or have we moved on from?
We don't have an X account. We actually discontinued it. It became so politically charged.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just wondering, yeah.
But Twitter,
It was Twitter, then now it's X, but it's very, very, very. Elon Musk purchased Twitter, which he turned to X, like SpaceX.
but what was the thing that they buried? Twitter?
No, TikTok.
How often will the Healthy Desert, Healthy podcast, be broadcast? How often?
I would love, we're working ahead. I would love to have enough stored so that we could do one a week. That's ambitious, but that's what I would love to do. That is the goal.
Will you involve, some of the board members on some of those?
Absolutely. Interviewing board members and having board members come on and talk about issues and decisions that the board has made.
Well, like, today Greg did the appointing count, that'll be a great topic for him to be able to talk about his experience.
That'd be a perfect topic. Especially considering that we have homelessness initiative.
Exactly.
Another component are news releases. So these have increased since 2018 from 31 a year to 62 a year, averaging more than one per week. That's actually a lot for local organizations, and I will say that we have a really great relationship with local media. Anecdotally, I don't see what all the other organizations are doing, special districts, especially special districts. But we do get significant media coverage. And we have 2,600 contacts in constant contact, and that's how we deploy the news releases. Our open rate is 29%, which is a good rate. And we usually have a link in the news release, whether it's to our main website or to the grants page, where people can learn about that opportunity, that process. And that is 2.6%, the average click rate.
And I was gonna comment about constant contact. I collect business cards from people I meet out in the community. And I shoot them to Will to add to the contact website. So the more people we have, the more people we reach.
So our community events, participation in these events provides a lot of great opportunities throughout the year for the directors and for the staff to meet the residents and familiarize them with our mission. And these events range from our own events, such as the Environmental Health Summit and the mobile vaccination clinics that Alejandro leads, to events that we sponsor. And we're sponsoring a lot of events now. We have the Palm Springs Healthline and Wellness Festival coming up Saturday. We are the presenting sponsor for that. We'll have presence there, we'll have a booth, we'll have mobile units there. Carol will be there presenting one of our community partners with an award. And it really is a great opportunity. That was there last year, speaking with a lot of residents. It's a great opportunity to get out into the community and let them know what we're doing. Our multimedia marketing. Our multimedia marketing campaigns, these are campaigns that we do with our major local news outlets, whether it's Channel 3, KSG Kuna, NBC Palm Springs, Univision, and you see on the bottom some of the campaigns that we've done, Connect ID, the Equity Collaborative that Alejandro was talking about. Most recently, we did a smaller campaign on fighting fentanyl. The Equity Collaborative, this was more of a traditional grassroots approach. It's basically a 4-year campaign. And I say grassroots because we had so many community partners that were part of the collaborative, and they were really great about sharing their resources, where they were creating flyers, also was creating the comic books. We had that communication subcommittee, we were able to share ideas. It was really a great experience because these organizations are the ones that are actually in the community on the ground, and I learned a lot from them. So I really believe in this approach to marketing.
I have a question, Coachella Valley Equity Collaborative, one of the groups that comes to mind are the Mujeres Campesinas.
Mhm.
Is that one of them in there?
Yes,
And do they have audited financials?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What was the question?
If Líderes Campesinas, if they have audited financials,
They're a large organization based out of Auckland.
Yeah.
so they are.
Yeah, and actually they would have to because the county is giving them money.
They were also a sub-grantee of the COVID-19 response
Yeah.
grants.
Yeah.
Is there any group from the collaborative that is not audited financial? Other
Not really, they are.
very good, thank you.
and this also used media. We did a lot of media out in the field, doing stories and interviews. And from local to national to international. I mentioned New York Times before, also the international TV network out of Germany, I think. DW Español did a story about what we were doing with the farm workers.
Could you show those to us? We have the links.
Sure. Public service announcements that range from the Desert Sun, broadcast digital channels, to creating information kits that were regularly distributed by the farm tourists. So they were really key in terms of on the ground, grassroots communications and marketing. Connect IE, a 12-month campaign that we did with and this was providing marketing support to the Inland Empire Health Plan to raise awareness about this resource. It was in English, in Spanish, it was TV, it was radio, it's the news websites, social media, geofencing. It's all the aspects of media.
Is that gonna be extended or just?
No, that actually ended. I suppose we can always.
I'll come back to it, yeah. Because on that platform, we're averaging about 2,500 to 3,000 monthly visitors. So it's also performing very, very well, just in the Coachella.
Healthy Desert, Healthy Youth Summit, we talked about that a lot. I think we're all very excited about the success of that. But from May to September is when we engage with multiple Coachella Valley media companies, again, broadcast, print, digital, to promote a new community-wide event in support of our strategic plan goal number 6. Again, we had a communications committee of partners that were part of planning all of the media content, all the communications content, a new website, weekly e-blast. And last year, this event, the summit and the media that we did around it, as well as the lease purchase agreement, meetings and publicizing those, they really raised the profile of the district. With the lease purchase agreement, we couldn't do a lot, we couldn't really do anything in terms of advocacy or promoting what people should do or anything like that. But it reminded people that the district owns a hospital. And I mentioned the Fighting Fentanyl Together in the Coachella Valley campaign. This ran over the holiday just this past November and December. And it's based on the video that multiple partners in it that range from the Indio police chief, we had a mom who lost her child, the fentanyl, and NBC Palm Springs and Intervision conducted this again over 6 weeks. It was mainly social media. And it resulted in over the 6 week 90,000 total impressions on Facebook and Instagram, with about 7,000 clicks on the actual video. And it was really targeted. So those 90,000 impressions were to people who had expressed some interest in fentanyl or substance abuse or something like that. So the people who needed to see it saw it. Consuelo actually do a lot of original materials, a lot of things in-house. These are just a few of the examples. The majority of the social media content we do, that's her primary responsibility, but I do help with that as well. The graphics, the program for the Environmental Health Summit, there were a lot of graphics that were created for that. We worked with an event producer who was really impressed by just the quality of the work and the amount of work that was done to promote that. And I mentioned earlier that we are, as a district, sponsoring a lot more events. A lot of times that requires an ad. These organizations will ask us, give an ad for our program. Those are things that we create as well. With the multimedia campaigns, I've written TV spots, radio spots, online articles for those, especially with Connect IE, did a lot of that. Video concepts and co-production, like the Fight Fentanyl, we've done other videos, and that's one of the fun parts of the job, to produce videos. I think you all saw that our most recent annual report, these are the two most recent, and we did make the change from, in 2022, it was a calendar year, and then the most recent one, we switched to a fiscal year. These are available in English and Spanish on the website. They are being printed as well, so that we have them available to distribute at events. We'll have them available in both offices, and available by request if you want any that you can actually get them. This is what I mentioned earlier about looking at how we can be more effective with communications and marketing. Chris and I have talked a little bit about doing a brand analysis. This is where you have an independent brand marketing expert come in and actually evaluate our brand awareness, identify the needs, and develop an actual plan. Because I know that it's been mentioned that people say they don't know what the district is. This is really key, especially as we evolve. I like to say we're beginning a new era. As we do that, this will be really key in creating effective communications marketing.
I think especially as the community engagement piece continues to grow too.
That is the end of the slideshow, but I did want to address something that was mentioned yesterday, and that was a communications policy or plan for the directors. We were talking about it in relation to, I think it was AB 2019. I do think that's a great idea. When we were at the ACHC annual meeting in September, they talked about that, not in terms of legislation, but they talked about it in terms of social media, providing directors with some guidance on how to engage in social media. But I think we can have a broader plan that talks about 2019 and how we engage with the community about the grant process, as well as media. I know Greg, you do a lot of media. But if you get media inquiries, what you should do, that would be included in that plan. And I think it would be really helpful. Questions, comments?
Well, did I miss it? Did you discuss the production of the historical book of the district? Because that's a profound piece of
The history book, and
I did not.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a
Fabulous piece of work.
It was a lot of work, but it turned out really well. So to commemorate the district's 75th year, we did publish our history book. And it was challenging because one of the challenges of marketing communications is that special districts in the healthcare district especially is so unique. It's hard to really create a synopsis around that or a definition around it. And the history book was especially challenging because we had this traditional history of starting to build a hospital, and we had that history. And then we switched when Tenant came in. So the history book really shows that. It's traditional history book in the first part, and then the second part is really about our partnerships and the things that we've been able to achieve in the valley in terms of financing health and wellness. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yes, you give our new members copies.
I've had one. I don't think I still have it, but I've had it.
English and Spanish.
Any more questions for Will? Okay, we'll move on to Andrea.
I will keep it short and sweet so that we can.
Well, is that a book that we could use when we go to some of these sponsorship events to give one or two out to certain sponsors as just kind of a marketing tool? That's something we could consider.
As we're using that, they're heavy. To cart them out. And the book is also available on the website, in English and Spanish, you can go online and read it there, but we have copies.
I think Chris mentioned last night that I've been with the district for, it'll be 8 years actually in February. Prior to that, I worked at FQAC for just about 10 years, so I actually have a lot of longevity where I tend to go. In that prior role, I worked with a lot of, actually on the other end of the grant side. So we were looking for grants, and over here we're distributing grants. So it was a totally different realm over there. I also worked with the board over there as well. And we worked with HRSA, the BPAC, DHS for regulatory items and everything. But here, I won't read everything verbatim, but I am quote unquote the clerk of the board here. I have a combination of all type of different projects. I also support the CEO as well, writing, editing, research, high level administrative roles and functions. I'm work with some of the key contacts of the state, local, federal government. Alejandro is also instrumental in ensuring that I get some of those contacts as well to set up meetings for Chris or CEO. A lot of event planning. I do the preparations for our staff meetings that are facilitated by Chris. A lot of these dynamics have changed now that Eric is our CAO, so I work a lot with him as well. I collaborate a lot with the CAO, as I mentioned, the senior management, a lot of research, fact finding, a lot of the eyes and the ears of what's happening also out in the community, things that I hear at the hospital also. And I'm also doing a lot of continuous knowledge building, as many of you know, last year I obtained my MBA, but I also engage, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, with the California Special Districts Association with a lot of their webinars and their workshops. A lot of the updates from the local, state, national healthcare trends and HR laws that are going on, just so that I too am apprised of those things and bring those to Chris and Eric's attention also. And then my board relations role, I'm obviously on the liaison with all of you. I answer questions from the public and try to resolve any issues that may come up that aren't legal related. I've developed obviously a professional relationship with the board. I've known many of you for many years. I think we all have a great relationship with trust and honesty and noting all of your different personalities and your different way of governing. Obviously I plan, the board and committee meetings, but I also assemble the agendas, and then we go over those together as a team as a whole with the senior management, and they provide their input as necessary. Obviously the packets and then the meeting minutes, and I ensure that we're in compliance with county, Secretary of State filings and trainings that are necessary. Public records requests, distribute those to the various personnel where necessary, and I administer our electoral process, and also have a role in our transparency and accessibility for the public, which is very, very important. And then I just wanted to show here the map of your zones, where everyone is with the district. As we know, our president is in zone 2. We have our vice president over here in Palm Springs area, a little bit of Cathedral City in zone 1. We have Dr. Logsdon down here in zone 3. We have Director PerezGil in 4, Shorr in 5, Secretary Barraza in 6. And then way down here, we have Director Lara. That's a very widespread area. And a matter of fact, this map, I don't know if you all have the link or not, came from the map that's online. You can put in your address and determine where your zone is and your boundaries.
And on your website?
That's from the website from NGS provided that.
I don't think it's on our website though. I don't think it's.
It is. I can show you where this kind of, if you go on the tab, it'll take you to maps and.
There's a link in there.
There's a link.
You add the layers and.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too how we developed the zones in terms of the population demographics and where medically underserved areas where it's very a long public process.
Yes, we've gone through 3 rezoning processes over the last 6 years. So now it's once every 10 years, but we did 2018, 2019, and then 2020.
Again, 2030,
Yeah.
It's the next one.
2031 down, 2031.
after the census.
And so then compliance and trainings, Jeff is familiar with this government code that requires all elected officials receive a 2-hour ethics training every 2 years and no more than 1 year for your first day of service. So for Vice President Rodriguez and Director Logsdon, you need to do that within a year, but I would recommend within 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months.
Do we need to send you the forms that we completed it, or you'll notice it online next time?
You will, so you have the CSDA links that I provided, I can provide that again for you to sign up, and you can do the on-demand webinars, or they have live webinars that you can take also, and then once they're complete, they'll provide you with the certificate. And this is related to anyone, board members that receive compensation or reimbursed for any type of expense. And then AB 1661, sexual harassment prevention. Again, anyone that receives a salary, any type of compensation. And this also applies to employees as well as directors. And that's no later than 6 months. And then once after your first day of service, which was December the 6th, after that, it's every 2 years. And just so our directors know, when you will be coming up again in April, you will need to do, all of our directors need to take the ethics and the harassment training back. 2 years goes by fast, and our staff as well. All right. Any questions about sexual harassment training, ethics training? And then the dreaded Form 700s that everybody kind of, you have to do it. You know, if you participate in any type of governmental decisions, you know, when you're assuming a role, an annual role, leaving office, filing obligations. And Jeff, you will also be signed up now with our electronic net file. I will send you and Joan the link. Very simple to do. I think everybody appreciates doing it online, right, instead of the paper process. And so and Chris talked about that last night, our conflict of interest guidelines actually determines who within the organization does fill out the Form 700. And again, everything with the statement of economic interest is about transparency to ensure there are no conflicts of interest, so the public is aware of that. So down here, we have our officers, CEO, CAO, CPO.
And that's yearly?
Yeah. Yes. Every year. So it's actually, we have the new one. I can, I'll send you guys an email as long as it's done before April the 1st.
And then it's also when you take office and when you leave.
And when you leave office, that's correct, yeah. Anything you want to add, Jeff, to that?
No, I think you're covering it just fine. You're doing good.
No, Jeff, I'm gonna ask you to elaborate a little bit on the conflict of interest. Because there's times that there are conflicts that are made aware, like for example, I'm on a board of directors for Intercare. And I know that most of us are on boards. And so if you could tell us what are our options, like in the past, and I will continue to do this, I will just state the conflict and I will recuse myself. But can you explain a little bit more about that option for board members? Because I know that in the past, some directors do it differently. So I think it will be good for the newest members to be informed of what are their options on those kinds of situations.
Under the FPPC, the conflict of interest code is in the area that is covered under there's 1090, but I think for our purposes it's the basic FPPC code. But what the important thing to remember is that whenever you're going to have a decision that you're going to make that comes before the board, what you have to ask yourself is, do you have any financial interest in the decision. And what I mean by that, are you in a position that you either are associated, you maybe work for the organization, you may have some sort of relationship from a financial standpoint with that organization. So you have to be this is a very complicated area. And so I would basically, I would encourage you to give me a call if there's any question, because the financial thresholds are very, very low, and the consequences can be very, very severe if you don't if you're found to either have participated or in some way influenced ultimately the decision that the board makes. So it really the important issue is whether or not you have a financial interest in the decision. And as you point out, if that's the case, you can't participate. You can't be anywhere near that in any fashion, whether that's at the committee level or whether that's at the board level. So, this is a very nuanced area. It's a complicated area, as I know you know, Letty, but it's an area that we have to be very, very careful. And I try to be informed, but I don't always know what each director of the organizations they may or may not be involved in. And you can, if you're not receiving some type of remuneration, then we can advise you and help you go ahead and you can still participate. But it's a very serious area that you need to be very, very careful in. And I would just caution you that if you have any questions, please give me a call and I'll try to help you through it. And then ultimately, if it's a situation of where it's not really, it's certainly important. What I can tell you in my experience, because I've been, I've followed this code for my whole career, but it's a decision that the FPPC has to weigh in on. And we have a process and a procedure that we can fairly quickly get a resolution, typically within about a month, get an opinion from the FPPC whether or not there's a conflict, and we've done that on a number of occasions. So I would just encourage you to make sure if there's any question, just give me a holler.
So I just want to use myself as an example, that my day job is the RAP Foundation. So I do not participate in any part in this, not even with staff. The FPPC has ruled in this. They have made sure that I've made sure that there's full disclosure and transparency. Separately, I sit on several boards, and I make sure that I communicate, and I know that I can vote on things that are intercare, or when I used to be on Live to Rise board, but the perception that it could present to the community, that's why I choose not to participate. And my thinking is, if that application cannot make it on its own, then it's pretty weak, so my vote shouldn't matter. So but I could participate if I wanted to, but
and that's a good point, because a lot of times what conflicts of interest, it's what the perception is. And so I always take a very conservative stance on these kinds of things, and always encourage you that, notwithstanding the fact that maybe that it doesn't rise to the level of a economic conflict of interest, that the better practice is basically to recuse yourself, because it's the perception. It's like Caesar's wife, I guess, is the old story. But you've got to, it's perception is really important, and so that's why I would always err on the side of not participating and recusing yourself, and that's what we've done in the past.
Thank you. Any more, Andrea?
Yes, just a few more, Carol, we'll get out of here. The compliance with forms 460 and 470. 460, as you know, every year you get a notice from the county stating that if you've raised or spent more than $2,000 or more in a calendar year, you must complete form 460. Or if someone has raised money on your behest, you must complete the form 460. And then the 470, if you do not have a control committee that's raising funds for you, this is the form that you fill out every year, or you do not anticipate contributing more than $2,000 to your campaign. Okay, we can briefly just go over the board and committees. Chris went over that last night, so I won't go into detail about what these committees do. We talked about finance and administration, we detailed about the program, about the policies, strategic planning committee oversight, hospital lease oversight committee. We will now be agendizing the hospital inspections to ensure that we're in compliance. And then something that Director Rogers has, President Rogers has brought up, and the staff will go into more detail about, is the non-voting community members, something that we've had in the past when I started here. They will not vote, but they will have a say, I suppose, in vetting the potential grantees for funding. Again, we've done it in the past, and it's the integration of 3 non-voting community members into the finance and program committees to ensure consideration of the perspectives and concerns of the broader community. So these individuals would represent the community. They would have interviews if they've done it in the past, and then those committees, as well as the committee members, would determine who they would, feel is the best candidate to serve on those committees.
And this would go to the policy committee first and then to the board.
Yeah, so we'll look to get a consensus of the board with this process.
And the bylaws do state that the district has the ability to ask people who are consultant or experts in the field to give advice to these committees.
Subject matter experts.
Subject matter experts. So this is just an extension of that.
And just finally, we have the governance task force ad hoc committee. Ad hoc committees are only short term. They should not go beyond a certain number of months. They should do their task and then dissolve as quickly as possible. At some point, Chris will talk about that. The board members know that we do have someone that does governance oversight, who is our consultant, Larry Walker, with the Walker Agency, and he'll provide additional details in the future at an upcoming meeting on good governance and best practices. But we do have a task force that oversees some of the recommendations that Larry Walker provided.
So before we move on to the next one, I want to make sure that I add my comment on here. So we're gonna start doing in-person meetings for our committee meetings. I would like there to be some consideration that for these committee meetings, that depending on what time they are, that the majority of the board members can determine where that location will be. If it's members that are out here, like Director Rogers and Director Rodriguez, then maybe Palm Springs works better. If it's myself and Kimberly and Daniel, maybe Palm Desert works better. So that's what I wanted to request, that you take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I think that's easier to determine once we're able to get dates and times. And then, yeah, the location can be easily negotiated based on what directors are on that committee.
And if I'm the minority, I don't mind coming out of here, but if it's the majority, I wanna go there.
Absolutely.
Is the intent of the non-voting community members to accept compensation for their time?
No. It would be like how you came on the FNA committee.
I bribed everybody.
Well, that's on your own deal.
Okay, I understand.
Maybe a free lunch.
Yes.
If it's at noon.
Along the way, yeah.
Okay, then we have a new diligent community software. Maybe I can just pull that up so you can see what I'm looking at if you were a member of the public. Okay, so it's a management software that makes everything so much more efficient, especially for myself, and make it easier for the board members. We'll get ready and hopefully get that going in February. You'll be able to vote on the back end. The public will be able to see your votes on the screen. I have a great minutes system that I'm using. The videos are live streamed. It's really a great platform. Let me just see if I can show it to you.
And Andrea is super excited about this.
What happened here? Let's go back, okay. So, do I need to share this with you, Jeff, or are you good?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So this is the site that is solely just for meetings and agendas. This is what the public will see. It is a live site, the public is just not aware of it yet. I guess they will be if they listen to the video, but they don't know. We'll have your pictures here on the welcome page once we have the group photos. But if we went here to tonight's special meeting, and then you would see the agenda that's on here if you were a member of the public. And then you could go to the video, which will simultaneously show you the agenda and the video. And Jeff, or are you good?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
So this is the site that is so. There is a small delay, yes, just a small delay. But once the meeting ends, it will continue.
Somewhere.
It will continue to go, so. And then I've been working a lot with, obviously with Eric as our CAO on this, and a lot with Will also, concerning this. It's really great. It streamlines everything. The calendar, on the side, over here shows you upcoming meetings. These were recent meetings. Actually, the F&A Strategic Planning and Program Committees were on here just for me to get used to everything. So if someone wants to see an old meeting, they just go here. I don't need to upload anything. Unless, for instance, there was a change or something that happened, then I could upload the Zoom meeting, but everything's here. I don't need to do anything. So it's really great.
Well, that's awesome. You're all done. That's cool.
And then we have all our connections on there too.
So each committee meeting will be videos also, or just?
It is. It's also too, we're on live also on YouTube. Hold on a second. If I can find it here. I'd have to go back. But it's also on our YouTube's channel. You can see it there as well. So the public will have ample access to everything that we do. Someone said one time, and a member of the public mentioned, you didn't get to see the website, mentioned that, he says, wow, I always have to log into Zoom or do this or do that. And I guess they felt that they didn't have, ample access to the meeting.
The Bran.
No, actually, it was not. It was someone who actually attends a lot of our meetings. I'm trying to find here.
Okay, sorry.
Andrea, this reminds me when you mentioned yesterday that you wanted to receive email notifications on our meetings, et cetera. I know there's like the cities and I know for sure the communication district, they do have a sign up, a registration link where they sign up for it and in the agenda and meeting notices get sent out.
Yeah, so we do have that here also, and Mr. Anderson will be so happy. Every time I publish anything, he will be able to subscribe right here.
Just get a push notification.
That was cool. Complained about time that you put the broadband and pay for.
That's right, so we made sure that the community has access to everything. At one time, he had a calling card, so we changed to ensure that he had a toll-free number, so we go out of our way.
Well, but does he have internet access to be able to do this?
County Board of Supervisors.
I don't know.
City Rushmore.
Maybe that's why he comes in person.
Well, that's why I was asking, because he may not have internet access to be able to sign up for that subscription, that if you can help him out.
And my understanding that recordings or live streaming them is not mandatory. There's so many other districts that don't do it, and it hasn't been mandatory just because some districts don't have the capacity like we do, and so that's what I've heard from the other side. That's he's in the wrong, but yeah, there's other districts that don't, other housing districts that I can tell you that.
It's not mandatory to live stream a public meeting.
No. So they are being recorded now.
You heard that, Jeff, that I suppose that there isn't a mandate for having.
No, yeah.
But there is a mandate that every healthcare district have a website that can.
Yes. under AB 2019.
AB 2019.
I went back to buy skin.
Now this is.
So our special district associations, we really engage a lot with them. They provide a mass amount of information, as I mentioned. Since my time at the district, especially the past 3 years, I've really been engaged in their workshops and their trainings, highly educational. There's a total of 76 healthcare districts in the state of California. ACHD is one of the smaller ones compared to the California Association, obviously. ACHD has annual trainings, again, lots of educational opportunities. You can go on their websites. They have plenty of committees. They advocate just like CSDA does. Chris is part of a CEO roundtable that meets monthly or bi-monthly. I'm part of a board clerk roundtable where all the board clerks get together of the association associated with ACHD. And then Kathy Martin is the CEO over there. So they provide, good governance, accountability, transparency standards.
So ACHD meets twice a year or once a year? Once a year?
Their annual meeting.
The annual meeting, it goes south and north, right? And then CSBA, they meet once a year?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because that
And that can
means
vary the location.
we attended that 1 year and compared to last year.
Right, this year, I can't remember, I want to say it's Monterey or something like that.
I'll sign up for that in the summer.
I really encourage everyone, let me know, or I tend to let the board know when there's upcoming, on demand or live webinars, because it's just so informative. I think it's highly informative. And they have their special legislative days that Kimberly, I think, participated in last year. Good to us. Any questions? Oh, Jeff has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that CSDA is our liability coverage. That's our risk management liability coverage, and so they're a critical organization for us in addition to ACHD.
Actually, Jeff, it's SDRMA who is our insurance.
But isn't SDRMA through CSDA?
I'm not aware.
They're just a member resource.
I think it is. I think it is, but we can check that. But I believe it is.
We can check
That's where we got it.
And anything else?
That's it. I just wanted to say, I kind of somewhat consider myself somewhat of an assistant chief of staff. Over the years, I have been able to participate more in a lot of other activities, such as our strategic planning that Chris mentioned. I do a lot of decision-making, problem solving, finding the cause, the elements, and then coming to a conclusion concerning a lot of different matters. And, like I said, I've been here for a while. Donna has also been instrumental in ensuring that I'm involved, such as the Black and African American Scholars Advisory Committee, which is everybody has a background in the story, right? So, which is, I'm just thankful for, and the Environmental Health Summit, I've been able to partake in those matters, and I'm also part of a California Women's Leaders Association, where they have monthly meetings that really help me to grow, not just professionally, but personally as well.
Well, we certainly appreciate you and the rest of the staff.
I mean, everything that goes into all of our board meetings, committee meetings, all the public engaging community meetings that we had with the LPA process, all of that, all those behind the scenes kinds of things, Andrea does, and oftentimes is underappreciated for it. So thank you.
It would help if you're 15 minutes late for a meeting.
And I would just like to say on behalf of the board that we are just so honored to have our staff, talented staff for all these years. I'd just like to personally thank you for all you do for us and the community. Any other comments?
Yeah.
All right, we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. We appreciate the board taking the time for both of these evenings. I think it's been very good. Very good process, something new that we've done. So,
Very nice.
hope you've benefited.
That's
All right.